Okay, I call this meeting to order. First time running through it, so I do the land acknowledgement next, right?
Roll call.
Roll call, okay. All right, so we'll start in the room first. Each person kind of says whether they're present or not, right? Okay. Tim Hauser.
Here.
Present. All right, Christy Santo Domingo.
Present.
Brian Lee.
Here.
Is Mizran on the phone?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Steve.
I'm here.
Brooke.
Present.
Okay, and Nick Arson, I'm present. Okay, I'll read the land acknowledgement statement. Our land acknowledgement is a statement we read to recognize Indigenous peoples who are the original stewards of the land on which we now live, work, and recreate. The city is a proud partner of the Snoqualmie tribe, and the commission feels it is important to recognize the history and connection tribes have always had to these lands. Therefore, we'll read our statement. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. Okay, we need to approve the agenda for tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
There's no way to do, yes. There's like another way.
You can say I move to approve
I
it,
move to approve.
and then
Okay.
somebody seconds it. There you
Second,
go.
great, all right. All in favor of approving last month's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposing? Okay, the agenda passes. And then we need to approve the minutes from last meeting as well,
Yeah, so this is approving the agenda for tonight, and then the minutes from the last.
from the last meeting, okay. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to review last month's agenda minutes. Do we have a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do we have a Steve? You
I'll second it, yeah.
Okay, great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the meeting minutes from last month pass. And then we turn it over to Rose. We're gonna do the public comment section now, right?
Yes, we did not have any pre-registrations for public comment, and we did not have anyone sign up, so there will be no public comment tonight.
Okay. Looks like next up, we have the board and commission orientation presentation. Rachel, are you leading?
I'm
that?
gonna do this
Yeah.
one. Yep. Poor Rose gets to do everything. So this one's my turn. So, some of you, many of you, most of you have seen some version of this, right? But it's best practice to once a year, just go through a reminder, right? Some of the things about making sure we understand what the role of a board of commission is. And then our favorite topics around open public meetings, public records, that kind of stuff. So this is a safe space. If you have any questions, just stop me as I'm going through things and we can talk through stuff, okay? I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable with all this stuff, but not freaked out about it, right? Because it really is common sense and easy to do. It just requires a different level and layer of things that those of you who haven't spent a whole lot of gray hair time in public government may not, understand to begin with. So, okay. All right. So as a reminder, this is the overview of the city structure, right? So you all and the rest of the community, you vote for the city council, who are all at large, right? They then appoint the city manager, and the city manager then runs the city. So the city manager is obviously accountable to the city council, but everybody under the city manager is accountable to the city manager, not the city council. Does that make sense? So, and then we've got our boards and commissions on the side, and then we'll talk through in a little bit, all of our contracted services. But then we now have a full complement of the leadership team. You have that there on those lower boxes. So next slide. So Sammamish is different from a lot of other cities in that we contract a significant amount of services. Every community is a little bit different, right? And every community contracts some services. Sammamish contracts a lot. That includes the city attorney, solid waste, newsflash, everybody in King County contracts solid waste. But fire is provided by Eastside Fire and Rescue, which is a nonprofit organization. The police is provided by the King County Sheriff's Office. We here in Sammamish also host the precinct 3 substation. So upstairs, there's actually a substation that is focused on unincorporated parts of unincorporated King County, but they rent space from us. So we have a little bit more presence of police officers than we would if we didn't have that there. And then criminal justice services, we contract all that stuff out as well. So municipal court goes through King County. And so, and then, yeah,
Is there a reason Sammamish trends towards contracting versus not?
it was pretty much how it was set up 25 years ago when the city was put together,
Intentional
right?
design. Okay.
Yeah, intentional design. You know, people are expensive, right?
Yes.
So some of that is to have it not be as expensive, but you know, some of that's probably worked out in the wash, you know, in different ways. But that really is how the city was set up. But I think that's a great question. So the other thing is there's lots of other layers of government or agencies that all of you as Sammamish community members rely on, right? So we have in Washington State what's called junior taxing districts. So these are technically public governments. So the library system, the schools, we have 3 school districts in Sammamish. And then the water and sewer districts, those are all public agencies. They're called lesser taxing districts kind of a thing. And then as you all know, because you pay the bills, right? PSC provides electric and gas, and then there's various different providers for internet and broadband. You know this already, but we meet the second Thursday of the month. We take August off. You have options to do it hybrid. We start at 6. We're not always going to go till 8. And you know, the major areas are around helping us get feedback, community engagement, and really educate our community members on the climate action plan. We will get to the urban forest management plan, comprehensive plan, and other things. So just as a reminder, right, commissions are advisory boards to the city council and to the city manager, right? And this is an area that sometimes people get confused by, so we just want to be really clear. Commissions don't have budget and they can't direct staff. That is only the city manager can direct staff, right? What we really need from you all is to help us provide recommendations to the council and the city manager about policy direction, right? And the other thing that we've talked about, which is unique to this commission, but is just so critical, is that changing hearts and minds, right? It is one thing for Rose and I as public employees to go out in the community and say, it would be really good if you increased your sustainability habits in your life. It is a completely different and much better message from all of you, because it's literally neighbor and neighbor in a different way, right? There's great opportunities to be on a commission, right? You definitely learn more about government than what you would if you weren't on a commission. You do have that opportunity to provide those recommendations to council, right? You know, I think many of you have heard me say this before. The reason I like public government and especially cities is because I think we change the world every day, right? Whether or not we're making sure that somebody's garbage gets picked up, changing policies so that, you know, we're reducing our GHG, ensuring that we have an appropriate level of human services. You all are a part of that changing the world too. So we appreciate you all being here. Effective commission members, this is not rocket science, right? Come to meetings, come prepared, ask questions, work as a group, participate. We really are looking for all of you to weigh in and provide recommendations. Okay, so again, just as a reminder, we are subject to the Open Public Meetings Act. Washington State has some of the strongest transparency or sunshine laws in the United States. I don't know if some of you were listening. I'm a radio person, so when they were talking about the orders to USAID to, like, you know, destroy all these documents, I was like, you could never do that here. So because of that, we all have a responsibility with public records and with open public meetings. So I think the key thing is just about anything can be a meeting, right? So an email string can be a meeting, right? So that's why Rose will send stuff out. She'll say, please don't reply all. That could be a meeting, right? Again, as we've discussed, if one of you wants to have a summer barbecue, you are more than welcome to invite the others to a summer barbecue. You just can't bring your agenda with you and say, let's talk about the Sustainability Commission meeting, right? Talk about the dogs and dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff, but not this. So, and then the other thing that folks get confused about is what does a quorum mean? A quorum is 4. It's very simple, right? And so because there's 7 of you total, right? I know there's technically 8, but with a non-voting member, there's 7 voting members. So 4 is what you need is what triggers open public meetings, right? But it's also what you need in order to pass something. So if 4 of you show up, and let's say you're working on a letter that you want to provide to the city council that says, we want you to do X, right? If only 4 of you show up and it's a 3-1 vote, right? That's not a quorum. Does that make sense? It's out of the total 7, not who's in the room.
Do votes need to be conducted in person or could they be done by email as well?
They cannot be done by email because of the open public meetings,
Okay.
but they can be done remotely, like what we have a member here today,
Okay.
okay? Again, reply all counts as a meeting, right? What we're really talking about is action. So for the most part, boards and commissions are much more laid back and relaxed than like a council is, right? The only time you're really gonna vote is if it's a recommendation that you wanna move forward, right? So there are penalties for violating OPMA, right? And again, I think all of us, we come to this table, right, knowing that government has special rules and regulations, and I know that we're all interested in making sure that we're, having the highest level of transparency for our community. So, and we appreciate when folks come and participate, even if they're just sitting back and not providing comment. So records management, public records, I touched on this a little bit, right? Anything's a public record. I can't stress that enough. Anything is a public record. So there are some limitations. If I just send Rose a text and said, I'm not available to meet tomorrow, that's a transitory public record. But frankly, in this digital age and the way that things work, it's just everything's a public record, right? Because once we put it down, it's a public record. That's why we give you all the iPads so that you don't have to mix public records with your private stuff. If everything you do is contained in that iPad, right? Then if we get a public records request at the city for, sustainability commission related stuff, we'll look at your iPads, we'll take care of what needs to be taken care of. We may need to come to you and say, we need you to do a declaration that says that you've not done sustainability commission related work on your private emails. But other than that, that's it, right? If you were to do sustainability related commission work on your private emails, then you would have to go through all of those emails, right? It's a big pain. That's why we're just saying, just keep them separate. Keep them separate. Yeah, I know that we talk about exemptions, but there's almost no exemptions for public records. So, and these are everything, anything that's written down, right? If you don't want to create a public record, don't write it down, type it down, right? It's so, all of those things that are listed up there are public records. So,
Social media work in that,
so you can absolutely share, hey, the Sustainability Commission is going to be down at Earth Day. That you can share that on social media because that's not necessarily a public record. You're just telling folks about this event, right? If you were to get on social media and do a private WhatsApp group, let's say, among, with three other of your members here, that would be a problem.
Okay.
Right? Because then you're having a meeting,
Mhm.
right? And then you're doing it, you're having, what should be public records on a private site? So stick to using your own social media to amplify what we're putting out there, right? Or to put out, if you just wanna, let's say Steve wants to put a new handle on Facebook, that's, heat pump evangelizer on the plateau, right? He can go out there and do that to his heart's content. Because even though it's in the sustainability space, right, it's not an actual, it's not on, it's on your work plan, but doing that is not on your work plan. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
If I, so like, or what's coming up, the heat pump thing here on. this
You
slide, right?
absolutely can push that out.
Yeah, yeah, but if I were like, I'm on this maybe sustainability council and I'm going to this thing, you should too, does that count as?
And
good.
we're, on the commission, we're working on, if you're just sort of going into commission stuff, that might be a little much, but come down and join us, and you can say, I'm on the commission, and I'm asking you to come down and be a part of this.
Okay.
That's totally fine. It's when you start doing sort of more business, like, you should, like here's an example. The commission sent the council a letter saying that they should do X. I'm telling you all, you should come down and influence the council in support of our letter.
Got it.
That might be a little much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay,
And this also applies to the city's social media posts. So if there's a public records request, the public records clerk will pull from our social media as well. So it goes both ways.
So when we've had, when commissioners have left the commission, do they have to turn in any written records they might have, like notes on them?
so a note like that is a transitory record.
Okay,
So if you get a letter from if for some reason, let's say your neighbor sends you a letter and it says, Nick, Sustainability Commission, and sends it to your house, then we need that letter,
okay.
right? But a transitory, like, oh my goodness, what's Rachel doing now in the middle of a meeting? That's not, or I wanna look that up a little bit more, that's nothing you have
Okay.
to worry about.
So those don't need to be retained.
Yeah.
And we have a new process that the clerk's office is rolling out. So if and when you are done serving on the commission, whether that's your term ending or you needing to step down for any reason, there is basically a declaration that says, I have turned in all of my records. So that way we don't need to come chase you down after the fact. We either have the records you provide, or we have this declaration confirming that you don't have any extra records.
So
Um,
if the day comes when we're off, does this count? I'm a dinosaur and I'm gonna take paper notes, so.
That's what I was getting at, but it sounds like no.
I think that's they're largely transitory records. If you had questions, we could sit down and look through it, but I think it's largely
Well,
transitory.
if somebody, I don't know, if 5 years from now, I'm off at the old folks home and somebody wants this, it would be in a closet somewhere. Would you, I mean, you could come get it if you wanted to, but
Yeah, I think at that point, Steve, it's kind of like, those are your personal notes that you're
Yeah.
using versus like a great example is the FAQ document, how you emailed me your comments on that document, and
Yeah.
I have that record now in my email thread, and so if there were public records, the clerks could access that. So that's why a lot of times if we're asking for feedback or edits, for example, with the Sustainable Sammamish Guide, we're having you email that to me and then it's automatically included in the system. Did I miss one? I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so we just need you to be a partner in this. Again, you are gonna get little to no public records. I've worked with lots of commissions in the years and, I've had the very few where somebody came in and said, I got this, what should I do with it? Like, just, we're here to help, okay? So, yes, there can be consequences, right? The reason that this is here is so that, again, we have the the strongest sunshine and transparency laws in the United States, and they're here because we're doing the public's business and the public should be able to see what we're doing, so. So again, as we discussed, just please just use the technology we've provided you, and then the other thing is just, you know. You don't need, like, if you're not gonna be at a meeting, you don't need to tell, don't put personal stuff on these iPads or send us emails with that you maybe wouldn't want to have. To have sent out, right? Again. I don't think we're gonna get a whole bunch of blanket public records requests for the Sustainability Commission, right? But, you know, you don't wanna put something personal in an email or something like that, so. Just cause, again, the exemptions are very few. So. Okay. Again, exemptions are few, just. The only thing I've ever seen redacted is social security numbers and bank account numbers, honestly, so. Even people write some stupid stuff. So be careful of what you create, right? Again, even if you delete it, we're still gonna have a copy of it. That's how we maintain our commitment to the Public Records Act, so. And there could be a situation where you're asked to sign what's called a Neeson affidavit. That's just where you say, I don't, because I have this iPad, right? I don't use my personal stuff for the Sustainability Commission, so it's a lot easier to do that than it is to comb through things, so. Questions? I know I went through that pretty quickly, but for some of you, that's a recap.
We saw it before, didn't we?
You had to do the
Before.
video yet, but
Yeah.
best practice is always making sure that we do this a couple of different ways, so. And every commission is getting that, and if you stick around with us for a long time, you'll be able to do the presentation yourself, because we're probably doing it once or twice once a year, once every 2 years at the least. Okay. If you have any questions, Rose and I are a resource for you, right? If you're not sure, just ask. We want to be helpful. We want you to be successful.
Okay. There's one more part to this, speaking of your iPads and your volunteer work here as commissioners. We are hoping to track and give credit for the volunteer hours that you all are banking as commissioners and at some of the events this summer. For you, Brian, this is especially helpful. I know you have some school requirements and volunteer hours awards that are available. And then for you all, it's helpful for us to know we have certain reporting that happens throughout the year. And we track this for our internal, whether that's grants, reporting, or just kind of internal understanding our community engagement. So I just wanted to take a quick 5 minutes here. If we could all sign up on Galaxy, the agenda has the link right there in the volunteer hours tracking document. And it'll take just a moment to sign up. And then once you have done that, if you want to just tell me, I'll make sure Francine gets us all included in the Sustainability Commission volunteer group. And then we can track that over the years and also make sure we have the event attendance through that as well. I will go ahead and screen share what is being shown here and the steps to sign up.
So we should sign up with our Sammamish email address?
Yes, so you want to sign up with your sammamish.us email and then confirm in your email. It'll send you a confirmation link, and that's all you need to do for starters. I'll work with Francine to get all of you joined to the actual Sustainability Commission group. And then I will be able to retroactively go in and log your hours from January, February, and this meeting. And then moving forward, we'll just take a moment at the end of the meeting to all log it each month.
I'm clicking on that link in the agenda. It's not a live link.
You click on where it says here.
Yeah, I
See that
am.
here one?
am.
Oh.
You can also go to sammamish.galaxydigital.com and that should allow you to register.
Is this the same one as doing the Park and Rec?
Yeah,
I do that already.
okay, if you already have an email signed up, that is completely okay. I will work with Francine to get that
Okay.
personal email and then you can add the Sustainability Commission as an additional volunteer event.
Including these nights or volunteer? or
Yeah,
need
so-
the-
The 2 hours, it would be in addition
Okay.
to the volunteer events that you're already participating in.
Okay,
So-
so it would be meetings, plus if you go to Earth Day, or if you go to farmers markets, any of that kind of stuff, but meeting counts.
Okay.
Meetings.
So what's the URL?
Yeah.
So I'm not on the internet here. Should I be in the city
Oh,
hall?
I was gonna say, what am I doing, Richard here? I don't have to.
So
pretend to
you're
be
on
IT.
sammamish.galaxydigital.com
Yes, yeah.
/ user / register. That should get you there.
Actually, though, I sign in with my personal email, so.
Yeah, so you don't
You're
need to re-sign up with your
Okay.
sammamish.us email. That's good for me to
Okay.
know, and I'll work with Francine to get your.
Got it.
And it's the same email that you applied to the commission
Yes.
on. Okay, perfect. Then I
Thank
have
you.
that.
Thank you.
Of course.
I've had to learn to use an iPad since I've been on the commission. I've never used one before.
I've been a PC user for
Me
a long
too,
time as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
What's our email is our first
All right.
It should be
Thank
B
you. See if my
Hanson.
emails.
all together.
Yeah, B
Okay.
Hanson at
Sammamish.
sammamish.us.
Have you
Do
tried?
you want us to put our address
Well,
in or the
it's-
city hall address? As I log
Oh,
in.
good question.
I would say it's what you're
Yeah, it
comfortable
should
with. If you don't want your personal address,
Updated
Don't worry
this
about it,
now.
but
How long is it gonna take?
yeah, that's more just a
Okay.
requirement of
Hold on,
registering.
you've
It doesn't
got
actually
issue
matter.
with Your email as well.
As long as your email is accurate, that's the main.
I have no idea what my email code is. That's what it is.
For your sammamish.us email,
I set it up and I've never logged out. I've never gone back. I have no idea what it is.
Aren't we creating a new one for Galaxy or?
Yeah, you're creating a
Oh,
new
okay.
password for.
Yeah.
Galaxy.
but if you need to access your email, you might need to reset it.
You-
So is this new for
So
this
you
year?
don't
They didn't
think-
have to do this? You guys didn't do this last year?
Yeah, we should have done it last year, but we're gonna be starting it this year and making sure that we're logging it regularly.
And every day, every meeting, anything we do, we need to come in and log this. And this helps you guys. get
Yeah,
your
I mean,
answer.
it's your choice if you wanna log the time outside of meetings that you're spending on the commission, but we'll definitely be tracking the 2 hours of commission meetings each month and then your attendance at events as well.
And if you're, if you're prepping for a meeting or whatever, that time counts too, right? Anything you're doing in your role as the sustainability commissioner.
So it must be different, because when I do the Parks and Rec, it puts in those hours, I guess.
This is a
So they will
slightly
be different.
different process. And I can re-email out this volunteer hours tracking kind of step by step, but
Okay.
essentially what you're doing is you're just creating a new.
Because a lot of these are, people being out there
Sure,
actually,
yeah.
doing stewardship stuff and things like that.
Excited for the emergency where you have to pull.
Mind if I noodle around?
We don't
Go
want you to
ahead.
trip on a spare wire here.
Well,
City Hall.
it's not working so.
Do you need to get?
Those
in
kids
there
at Earth Day too.
Yeah.
Well,
Kind of do.
Gotta watch out for that chipmunk.
Ranger Rick, I heard that he'll be here.
To the-
doing
I'm
that.
sure he
If I
will.
get to the agenda, I can do who Rose's registration.
Stop the sharing. Okay, yeah, this is just the initial setting up and then, yep,
Success.
perfect, success.
Wonderful.
So we'll get you added to the group and then I'll send a follow-up email talking about how to log your hours moving forward and you'll see some hours populate from the past couple of meetings as well.
It's the organization fan. Step 5 here.
Skip that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can skip that.
okay.
If you wanna be a fan of the city though, we're right there.
Oh,
Of
course.
I think that will get you.
Wait, where's the city? Because I see Sustainability Commission up here.
That's a good one as well.
I see that one.
Is it on here?
It might have
Oh, I have to scroll down.
populated differently.
There
Oh,
it
yeah,
is,
there you
yeah.
go.
It is, yours is in a different order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. And then I'll go down there. With the bottom. It should work.
The network connection was lost. Oh, no.
Okay, so do we
Yeah.
put in our
Oh,
hours?
shoot.
You recording.
We're gonna get you added to the commission group
Ah.
first, and
Yeah,
then
let's try
we'll go
this
ahead
one
and add some
first.
hours, and then for the next meeting in April, we'll take 5 minutes at the end of the meeting and everyone will log their hours together.
Okay.
So for now, it
You
was
see
just
the-
making sure everyone's registered while I have you here while we're thinking about it.
Okay.
But
Yeah, you know where you're
super
at.
quick, 5 minutes, don't feel like you need to do anything else there.
Hopefully I didn't lose everything I just did. Is Rich here? What does this mean? The network connection was lost? I got through all 5 steps.
Maybe too many people using it at once.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a ton of volunteers, so I wouldn't think it's a problem with
Oh, it's still
the platform.
hooked up.
Yeah, no, I was able to access it.
Shouldn't it be the city of Sammamish guest?
No, those are on.
Okay,
network.
let's try
Oh,
it.
they
Let's
are.
try it again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, City Hall's a more secure one than the guest
Yeah.
network.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
I don't know why the color changed. That's
Yeah, it was
interesting.
blue before. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
How's everybody else doing?
Yeah.
So where's this link to get to the record? I'm at the agenda.
Here.
Oh,
Rich?
God.
You already said
You
it,
can
so I'll
see-
have to-
It's small text.
Go
I
to.
see.
You needed me to do it when I walked in.
office.com.
No, today.
So
Okay.
Rose, going forward,
Wait.
what's the expectation that we would like log hours every week or?
No, so we're gonna be able to go in and retroactively add the hours from January, February, and then today's meeting.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking it'll probably be easiest for everyone if at the end of each meeting, we just take 2 to 5 minutes for everyone to log their hours at once. And then when you log hours, it comes to Francine and I to approve them. So we'll get a snapshot of who
Yes,
is logging the hours and who we need to send a reminder email to.
What happens if we say, okay, like, so before this meeting, I read the whole agenda, and if I know that I read the agenda, can I just enter my time reading the agenda or whatever?
Yeah, you
Before I
absolutely
come to
can.
the meeting?
Yes, you can do that, and it would be the same way you would do a sustainability commission or an extra event, because it's not one of the actual registered volunteer events that auto-populates. You would follow this step by step, add the hours, and then in the notes section, you have the opportunity to say Earth Day event 2025. And if you only come for 2 hours of Earth Day, you would log 2 hours, and if you're there for the whole time, you could log more. So it's really just, if you wanna do the bare minimum, just do the commission hours and don't worry about it, but if you wanna really get an accurate snapshot of how much you're volunteering and get some credit, we have yearly awards that we'll give to folks who get over a certain amount of volunteer hours, so you could be eligible for that.
So 2 questions. I guess one is, this is important because the city uses these metrics to demonstrate we have a robust commission. The commissioners spend hundreds of hours volunteering time, and that's
I can certainly get
included
this
in
one.
applications for grants.
Yes,
on
essentially.
sustainability. Okay,
And it's not just this commission, it's all of the commissions as well as our volunteers.
okay. And then a request, could you put this Galaxy link in our like a monthly agenda so we always have it, we know where to find it? Okay,
Of course, that's a great idea.
excellent.
And in my commission follow-up email this month, I'll resend that link and resend the instructions
What are
as
the
well. They were included in
Yeah,
today's
so
agenda, but it will
14
be nice to have that as a
characters,
standalone as well.
needs a
Yeah, then we don't have to
uppercase or
search for it if
lowercase,
Firstborn
number,
child.
symbol,
Okay,
and
all
that's
of
it,
it.
yeah.
First,
Yeah, uppercase, lowercase.
Brian, you probably finished this like
Former
hours
pets.
ago, right?
Former.
I was,
Yeah.
So make
already
it
had
like-
it.
This is why I don't
Counted,
remember.
so
Right.
everything about it.
Were
Right.
you able to do it on your phone?
Well,
Yeah,
he
I
had to
already-
Add you, right?
Or,
Yeah, so
He's just gonna add you like.
we have to go in and make everyone a member of the Sustainability Commission, and then start adding hours. That way they don't just go off into limbo. We can see what hours are associated with each commission.
Oh, passwords.
Yeah. Did not.
What?
It's great.
Oh,
I'll-
and I don't know if they have this rule in place anymore, but it used to be that you couldn't use all or part of the word Sammamish.
I was not using that, but that's good to know. But thank you.
I'm not sure if
Interesting.
That's active anymore.
Yeah, I write down all my passwords in a little notebook because I
That's not
can't keep
safe.
them all
Rose.
straight. In a notebook, not in my notes section.
Password manager.
Yeah.
Okay, well, while you all are finishing that up, let me pull up our next item here.
Is there a certain way we speak at this? Like, should we raise our hand or we just can talk? I noticed I'm just talking out, but I mean, are we supposed, is there a protocol?
Yeah, so typically with commissions, we just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to speak. So ultimately that is up to the chair to help manage the conversation. Thus far, you all have been very respectful, checking in with one another, making sure everyone gets their turn and it's not being spoken over. But if that ever does become a problem, the chair would kind of decide whether they want to do raised hands. Sometimes we'll do this if you want to speak next, and then you can kind of go in order.
Does anybody have a preference? I mean, we're doing that works, but. If you feel like we want to raise hands and do everything, that's fine.
Well, like Chuck Knox used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, you might remember, Steve, we started off in the council chambers with this commission, and we had to press a button and the light came on, we had to turn a microphone on to speak, and
Yeah,
it was a lot more formal, and
Let's not go back to that.
no,
Yeah,
this is
This
nicer,
is
yeah.
much better.
To actually face each other rather than having to lean out over the dais.
Right,
Yeah. Did you get a password going? Great. Steve, how you doing over there?
I'm on step 2.
You're almost there.
That's great. That's better than step
They're
one.
all made up after that anyway.
I gotta select my interests.
You don't have to.
You don't, you can
You
skip
don't.
that.
So I know Peter Donaldson. Do you know him?
Yeah, I just met
Okay,
with
yeah.
sustainability ambassadors this afternoon.
We've
before
worked
the
with him
convention.
for a few years, actually. He's helped our school with our water conservation project. So he's pretty active with the Issaquah schools, I know.
That's great. Yeah,
the middle
he's
school.
working with a couple of, or sustainability ambassadors are working with a couple different jurisdictions on
Oh,
different priorities. And yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. That's great that you have some familiarity with him already, though. I guess you can all kind of take a moment to read over this program summary while we're sitting here.
So high level, this came directly from the council that the city should work with the sustainability ambassadors. So this is a directive from the council that went to the city manager that then went to Rose kind of through that process I was telling you all earlier, so.
Does it have an impact on our commission, or is it about the city engagement with schools?
More the latter,
Or what?
yeah.
Okay.
Steve, did you get it over there? I see you wrapping
Yeah,
up.
I don't put any hours in.
You don't put
No,
any hours in yet.
Just signing up.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm saying,
Okay,
at least it said success.
perfect. Great. All
It said,
right.
welcome back, I haven't been here before.
Thank you all for taking the time. Appreciate it. That'll be really helpful moving forward. So as Rachel had mentioned, sustainability ambassadors was a request for an addition into the work plan from council. It does have some budgetary implications and has been added to the sustainability work plan for 2025. Sustainability ambassadors are a nonprofit group. Their program manager, Peter Donaldson, works with a number of different high schools and some middle schools in each city jurisdiction. Obviously, we're in Sammamish. I know they're also working with Issaquah and Kirkland right now. It is with a bunch of really motivated high school students who act as project managers and implementers for specific sustainability initiatives. So I worked with Peter over the last couple of weeks to take both the recommendations from the commission for the climate action plan priority actions, as well as the climate action plan in general, and what program offerings sustainability ambassadors have that are existing to create this scope of work. We are contracting with them through the end of December of this year. It's about a $26,000 contract. And through that, we get 2 main project managers and then engagement with all of the schools. This is an impactful program because we have not historically been able to work with the schools. So this will give us a great kind of snapshot into some of the work that's being done, give us some of that youth voice and amplification of city initiatives in some of these spaces. So
haven't you been allowed to work with schools?
it's not that we haven't been allowed to work with schools, it's that we're early on in the sustainability programming, and with only one of me, I have not had the bandwidth to really collaborate with the schools in a way that is effective. A lot of our schools are already doing great work, so we have a number of schools throughout the city that have received a green school certification from King County. They have green teams, sustainability clubs, waste management programs. We have some really motivated youth in the city, and I think by working with those youth to help influence their parents, that's where the opportunity is here. As we all know, our residents are a large portion of our emissions, and the city can only do so much. So hearing it from your children is another motivator for folks in taking some of these sustainability actions. So just wanted to briefly give you all an idea of what this scope of work is, the work that they're going to be doing. There's a couple program-wide initiatives. A big part of Sustainability Ambassadors' work is their impact storytelling. So this is students going out into the community, riding the bus, creating a rain garden in their backyard, making conscious choices to sort their recycling and work on their waste management. Whether that's at home, in the classroom, or in their school community. We're also looking at a town hall at school. So this would be an opportunity for some commissioners, possibly council members, to meet with school students and staff and kind of talk about some shared programming, talk about some wins, talk about some challenges, and generally get that collaboration really going. Part of this work is also helping provide some curriculum resources around sustainability to teachers. And then we have 3 focus areas. So you'll recognize this, it mirrors the climate action plan, and we've taken a couple of these specific actions that were recommended by the commission, specifically the EU 4.1. So not only is the commission working on this, but we've also tasked the sustainability ambassadors to help further this work. And I will let you all read through this for just a moment. We've also got transportation and land use. So this was another one that the commission had prioritized, launching a community-wide education campaign. We all know a lot of our vehicle miles traveled and vehicle transportation emissions come from parents driving their children to work, to school before work. And we want to help motivate change through the youth voice. So that might look like carpooling to school, promoting bike to school, really amplifying the use of MetroFlex and community van by some of these student groups, and doing some of those impact projects as well. And then the third area of focus is natural systems and water resources. again, these recommendations from the commissions, WR 2.1 and WR 2.2 on smart irrigation management and drought resistant native landscape design, specifically looking at residences and private yards and green spaces. The city has a really wonderful, robust stormwater program and restoration program and a great team of volunteers, but we're really hoping sustainability ambassadors will help parents and also individual students take a look at their own homes and their own yards and gardens to try to amplify and continue those efforts. So that's what we've got for sustainability ambassadors. I did meet with them earlier this afternoon, and they are going to be amplifying and sharing information on the community workshops that we have coming up. So the heat pump workshop on March 26th, the 2 solar workshops that we have coming up on April 23rd and May 28th. These events are all at the bottom except for the solar workshop. That was a recent ad. So there'll be
The second solar.
the second solar workshop. We just got that scheduled a couple days ago. That'll be May 28th, same time frame. So the sustainability ambassadors are going to be helping get more folks to these events. We may also have them come table with us at the farmers markets this summer, but they're mostly going to be focused on work and projects within their own schools and their community groups that are associated with the schools. So
How many are there?
how many ambassadors are
Yeah,
there?
how many are there?
I don't know specifically. I know we have two paid interns that are gonna be working directly with Peter, and they're working on recruiting folks right now. So we don't have a final number. They just started this work at the beginning of March. I can say in the room today, we had 15 students. That was really great. So we've got at least 15 engaged right now across, I believe it was 4 different schools: Skyline, East Lake, the Tesla school, and then there was one other that I can't recall at this moment, but they will be working with those 2 project managers to create these impact projects, get volunteer hours, and further the work that they're already doing. A lot of these students are part of their green teams, part of National Honor Society, et cetera. So they have that passion already there.
Where does the funding come for the sustainability ambassadors?
So that was a budget item that council had requested to be added, and it comes from
No,
the.
no, I mean the actual group. How are they funded? The nonprofit?
They're funded through city dollars.
Through-
So
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so the city's spending about $26,000 this year
Mhm.
on sustainability ambassadors. And so they exist by having multiple jurisdictions doing similar things,
Okay.
right? 2 students get a small stipend for their internships, but what they do is they then go amplify and get the other ambassadors.
Okay.
So that's how their model works.
Got it.
And they do other sustainability related stuff as
I
well.
went on the website that you provided a link to, and one of the students, and I don't know what category she's in, was Aditi, and I don't even remember, but she was one of the students that was, along with Manute, I believe was the other one, that was on the Citizen Advisory Council
Yep.
to write the climate action plan.
she's actually one of the 2 project managers. So it's really great to have that continuity. She was
Yeah.
part of the community input on the creation of the climate action plan, and now she gets to go and implement that in the schools. Yeah. Okay, any other questions on sustainability ambassadors?
What are sustainability ambassadors not?
Sustainability ambassadors are not city staff. They are not sustainability commissioners.
And they are not they're not the stewards, right? There's some
Yeah.
question as to whether or not they were taking over for the steward. There's very different
Yes.
roles.
Okay, yes. So specifically in the past, our restoration program has engaged with interns. That is specific restoration, like on the grounds, working in the community on specific projects related to clearing, planting, pest control, et cetera. This is specific community outreach in the schools by students. So it's not the restoration work, it's the community engagement and education work.
And so we have a huge, wonderful group of who are called the Sammamish stewards who do a lot of volunteer work, right, specifically around restoration. These two are not in conflict at all, right? So there was some question like, are the ambassadors? Not at all, right? The ambassadors are doing that hearts and minds work within the schools, right? Stewards are doing all that great work literally on the ground, pun intended, right? So that's a way to think about the difference between the two.
So we're not having them do manual labor specifically. Yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
So would we get an update maybe next time about how many are actually doing work?
Yeah, absolutely. Peter and I are working on a specific program schedule and some of the deliverables. So we're planning to have at least one, possibly two report outs to council from students involved in sustainability ambassadors. And we can update the commission periodically on how their work is going as well.
And we have a meeting in July that you all will be invited to between the stewards and the council. Right, council members, we have a few council members who will be in a part of that, and it's an opportunity for all three entities to sort of share what's going on in this work, so.
I'm just curious, did the sustainability ambassadors look at the climate action plan, and those are the types of programs that they're
That's
talking
how
about
they
in the
pick those
schools? Oh, okay.
three,
Yeah.
right, that's why they have transportation and land use.
Good
and-
alignment there, yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So just to answer your question here with a specific example. So we took from the climate action plan, looking specifically at TLU 5.1, launch an education campaign on sustainable commute alternatives. And then the underscoring of that is facilitating school and community presentations on sustainable transportation, whether that's talking about carpooling to school, doing a bus bingo competition, handing out a bunch of Orca cards to youth. I did learn today that we have a couple ambassadors that have reached out to King County Metro to get over 700 Orca cards to hand out at each of their schools. There is a March 31st deadline for King County Metro. Youth under 18 ride free, but they do want youth to start carrying Orca cards so that they can actually track the taps for youth. And so they're gonna start asking youth to scan Orca cards, starting April 1st. And so a lot of youth currently are riding the buses, but not actually using Orca cards. And so we wanna make sure everyone has an Orca card that they can kind of own and start those habits of riding public transportation and tapping.
That's great. So as Rachel said, there's no direct affiliation with the city, but I assume because they're enacting parts of the climate action plan, the city can take credit for some of those metrics in your annual report, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will be partnering, so I know a couple of the ambassadors had reached out. You'll see on there the carbon commute count survey. This is information the city has not had previously or really had an ability to track. And so the students asked for some support from me to help reach out to their administration folks because they've kind of hit a wall. And they feel it would be a little bit more legitimate coming from a city staff member saying, hey, we really would appreciate if we could have the administration support in rolling out this survey to get this information moving forward. So we'll be supporting, but they will ultimately be the project managers handling the metrics, handling the outreach, and creating all of this material. So I'm just providing oversight. And that's why we have this scope of work, because they will be following this scope of work.
Sounds like a win-win. I mean, it's a pretty minimal investment for potentially a big impact, right?
It's the goal.
Okay. Great.
Go back to me.
Back to you and then back to me.
All right, Arbor Day, is that what we have up next?
Yes.
Booth planning. But so we have an Arbor Day event and an Earth Day event.
Arbor Day is going to be shared with Earth Day this year.
Okay,
Just because we have so much going on in April and there's only one of me. We have decided to kind of merge the two together, talk about some Arbor Day stuff, have a little bit of celebration at Earth Day. So we will have two different booths for sustainability that are going to be city booths, one of which will be the Sustainability Commission, and one of which will be an East Side Climate Partnership Program booth. So that East Side Climate Partnership booth will be managed by a City of Issaquah staff member. They're coming to help support, since there's one of me, there's one of them, so they're gonna come staff our second booth. I will be returning the favorite, their sustainability fair later in April. They'll be talking about Energy Smart East Side and Solarize East Side only. So they will have half of their booth for solar, half of their booth for heat pumps and Energy Smart East Side. The Sustainability Commission booth, as a result of having that supplemental booth, I'm thinking would be good to focus on flexible transportation and the Sustainable Sammamish Guide. So those actions that folks can do across all of the different areas of focus in the climate action plan. And then we'll be handing out pollinator seeds. I got us pollinator seeds as our giveaway. And we'll have the sustainability wheel to help initiate some conversation. There will also be 3 Sammamish stewards booths. So that's that group that Rachel was talking about. And for Arbor Day, I met with them last week. We will be doing a native plant scavenger hunt, which is really great. It's from the Washington Native Plant Society. I actually pulled that up here. You can go ahead and screen share. So these will be laminated and handed out for folks to go around the park and identify some of these plants. There will also be some that can be taken home for parents to do with their kids, teachers to do with their students, or just curious residents. And there's some of our most common tree species on here as well. And then it also, on the flip side, provides some identification information. This is part 1 of 3. So we're gonna have the native plant scavenger hunt. There will also be an activity for kiddos. We have a ton of kids come out for Earth Day, so we wanted something that would be really accessible to them. It's a coloring sheet on the left, and then on the right, really simple Arbor Day themed top 10 things trees can do for us. So starting that education young, and also, you know, parents love seeing what their kids decorate, and so that'll be an opportunity for them to read that as well. Hopefully this will end up on a number of fridges, and just kind of continuing that education component. The stewards will also be handing out a number of different native species. So small little versions of salal, red currant, some of these lower understory species that help support the larger ecosystem and keep our trees healthy and our ecosystems healthy. So between the scavenger hunt, the coloring sheet, and the plant giveaway, we're thinking we have our bases covered. But I'd love to hear if there was anything additional that you all would like to do at the Sustainability Commission booth to supplement transportation and Sustainable Sammamish Guide. If not, I think this is okay for this year, and then we can look at maybe doing a guided tree walk next year or a tree planting later on. This is not really the best time of year to plant trees, which is why we kind of stayed away from that this year.
Yeah, the only thing I would recommend is our next commission meeting is the week before the Earth Day event. And, you know, speaking for Steve and I, when we helped Rose last year, it was a bit overwhelming when you've got like 50 to 100 kids showing up and we're at the booth and like, okay, what are we supposed to be doing and talking about? So could we spend maybe a few minutes at our next meeting for those who are interested in volunteering? So here's the game plan, right? Where, you know, someone will be in charge of spinning the wheel. We've got these prizes. What are we going to talk about with the Sustainable Sammamish Guide? We're gonna hand things out, or the things we should focus on as we're talking to people. Can we add that to next month's agenda and just spend a few minutes going through that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they didn't all come at one at a time either.
Right, yeah. So,
They wait in a nice single file line patiently for you.
yeah, so for everybody, if you're available on the 19th, this was a fantastic event.
Yeah.
Steve and I had a great time last year. And you're right, there were hundreds of kids and parents, so if there's more of us there, then there's more opportunities to talk to people.
Absolutely.
One thing I'd point out, that list of native plants you showed. I'm a guy with a big lawn that I wanna take out and put native plants in it. Lawns are in sunny spots, at least lawns that do very well. Most of those plants are either trees or require shade. So one of the things we need are native plants that can tolerate direct sun all day long. Cause we get that in the summer. And if you plant a fern in the middle of my lawn, it's gonna turn brown, it's just gonna get burned up.
So you,
I'm not a, I can dig a hole and put a plant in it and throw a little fertilizer in and put some water on it. But I'm thinking our native plant stewards should maybe develop a list that of plants, non-trees, that could be used to replace lawns.
Sounds like a great partnership to me.
I'll follow up with them.
Okay.
Is there a prize or a stamp or birthday sticker they get if they do that scavenger hunt and find all the things?
I don't believe that specific scavenger hunt, but what we
Okay.
have done in the past is there's like almost a little passport type card, and each booth will get it, will
Okay.
stamp. So
Okay.
it's not that specific scavenger hunt, but it's like for the whole Earth Day, if they're
Okay.
going around, they'll get
They'll get
stamps in each
something.
booth and they'll get prizes. And almost every single booth at Earth Day has giveaway items. You'll see, it's almost like Halloween, like kids will go around with a little bag or basket and they'll just be putting stuff in,
Okay.
so,
And
Yeah,
you'll
how
have
many-
those as a part of the wheel, those pollinators that Rose was talking about, so.
How many booths are we talking about for this whole event?
Oh, couple thousand,
booths?
no.
Oh, attendees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe 20 booths-ish
Yeah.
in a variety, there's also a petting zoo and, there's a whole bunch of different stuff.
Okay, so a lot of reasons for people. to
A lot,
come
yeah,
out.
it is not just sustainability that people are.
you gonna get the raptor guy back,
Maybe,
'cause that was a hot item.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, so historically they've had a petting zoo. Our solid waste hauler will be there, our water districts will be there. Some other like Washington Trails Association typically will come. So we're really trying to think about like what niche can the Sustainability Commission specifically fill? And a gap that I was seeing in the list of vendors is the flexible transportation. Historically, we've seen like a separate community van booth and they just don't have the capacity to do that. So we're gonna have some flyers at our booth. And I think that's a good area to focus that hasn't really been covered. Obviously Arbor Day is covered by the stewards. They're already doing a lot of this great work, so I didn't feel that we needed to replicate that effort.
So there were, I recall, one or two food trucks last year, and are they contracted through the city?
We work with the food truck vendors to come in.
Because the question I'm asking is, in the contract, are they required to have compostable materials, plates, utensils, cups like that?
That's smart.
I don't have the answer to that, but we'll look
Something
into
to
it.
look into.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Cause if we're here for Earth Day and we're
Hypocritical.
throwing stuff in the garbage,
Yep.
it kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Yep.
So if the city has any ability to influence the contracting.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if nothing went to the landfill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first thought with the kids walking around fast. I'm like, this is just a lot of garbage.
And-
Knowing that when my kids pick up. and bring
Says
it
a
home,
parent.
It's a lot of waste.
It-
That
yes.
we're bringing home, but I don't think we should get rid of it. 'cause-
I will
Yes.
find the
It
answer
is
to that and include it in the next commission's question and answer matrix.
That would be great, yeah.
For giveaway, so far, the Sammamish Sustainability booth is transportation related, but our giveaways are all plants, which is good and fine and make sense. Like, is there any transportation-y things? Like a free ride on the community shuttle to get people to use them, like,
I can definitely look into that. Historically, so last year, we did a little bit of transportation stuff as well. And we had a bunch of the basically like plastic giveaway foam vans, little keychains, etc. We're really trying to stay away
oh,
from
agree with
that
that,
this
yes.
year. We had given those out last year because we already had the store of them and we didn't want to throw them away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were trying to keep it kind of minimalistic this year, especially knowing
Yeah.
that so many of these other booths are handing things out. But I can definitely look into that and see if there might be just a simple.
yeah, do they have promo codes or something that they have
Yeah.
or something?
I
to
think
get
giving
them
out Orca cards is something
Well,
that's on my radar, especially for the youth. So
Yeah, especially.
I'll
if
see
they
how
come
many
with,
I
like,
can get my hands
well,
on.
I guess kids ride for free, but
Yeah, but getting the
but they're
orca
wanting you to
cards.
tap them.
No, no,
Yeah,
great,
the
but-
black ones.
Yeah, but that would, like, something that ties into everything would be great.
That is a great idea, thank you. That is exactly why we're talking about this right now.
Another thought, and maybe this is a thing, but I was actually thinking of getting an e-bike. An electronic bike, but I don't even know if I can ride I'm not riding in the street from my house. Can I ride on the sidewalk? Is
Yes.
it something we can put signs up? Cause those high schools are all on the street. Do the kids even, thinking of transportation, do
Kids
they
ride
know
wherever
they
they
can?
want. Yeah.
But
They
do
ride
they
wherever
know
they
they can
want.
ride on the sidewalk?
Yeah,
Yeah, they usually do.
yeah.
Okay, so they
do.
know that, cause I always see just cars. I
Yeah.
haven't seen a lot of
Yeah.
e-bikes.
Hopefully you can see cars on the sidewalk.
I don't see cars on the sidewalk.
The harder thing with is that there is and I don't know the terms, but there's an e-bike that's not a bike. There's an
Yeah, it's like
e-bike
a
that's a
level 3.
motorcycle.
Yeah, they have
Right?
levels.
And that is the danger. We're seeing some of those in our community, and those are, the e-bikes go fast enough as it is, those other ones go way too fast. And
So
are
those
very,
80,
very,
85?
very
Is there
scary.
any regulation against those?
Yes, however, we're seeing them every now and then.
So I know there's pedal assisted. And those are probably the ones that are okay.
Mhm.
And the ones you're talking about, are those required to be licensed by the state?
I don't know about that. I just know that they're not legal on the streets. But whether parents are, not understanding the difference between the two type of technology could be, kids I know very well can be, very influential when they want to, right? But just to put it out there that pedal assist is fine. Once you get into that, those are the problems.
So I'm glad Christy brought up EV bikes, and I don't know if it's too late in the planning cycle, but is it even possible to have an EV bike vendor at Earth Day so people could ask questions, learn about e-bikes?
That'd
There's
be
also-
great,
You
that'd be
know,
great.
I don't know what that means. Is that like, the Trek bike, well, they're in Issaquah, there aren't any bike shops in Sammamish, are there?
Not when the-
There's a
not when the
Seattle
facility
e-bike.
left.
Maybe REI, I don't know, but that would be great if we could have, a vendor that actually provide information about e-bikes. If we're here talking about transportation, yeah, go get an e-bike, what's that all about? We don't have anybody here to talk about it.
There's also, Amazon, they have a benefit, right, that you can rent one for free, basically. Because they'll pay you back if to do things, but whatever. But there's a bunch of rental things, like long-term rentals that you can do as well. That might be looking into. I can send a list of things that Amazon's got benefits with. That might show up at the booth and that people don't have to buy it. Cause they're not cheap.
Yeah,
And if you're worried about it, right, or whatever, like, there can be a pretty big.
Or you just wanna rent one for the summer when the weather's nice.
Yeah, right, and then not have to deal with it,
And
yeah,
not drop $6,000 on one where you're not gonna use it half the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but might be other people that they might be able to quickly mobilize a booth or whatever.
If they had one, I would look at them, cause I wanna buy one. So if you had one, I would be in the market for one.
Me too, soon as train station opens up, ride my e-bike,
Oh,
down
nice.
to
The Redmond,
Mhm.
yeah.
ride it back up the hill, but I'm not riding it back up that hill, not a regular one.
Smart man.
Yeah, so when you said, what was your name, flexible transportation, were you thinking, you were thinking bus?
I was thinking specifically bus. There is, Route 269 is gonna be expanding their service
Oh,
come
good.
fall, so we wanted to do a little bit of outreach on that. And then more specifically, Metroflex and community van. We often hear from community members that they're frustrated by the lack of public transportation in the city. And a lot of times, those conversations, they don't actually know about Metroflex or community van. And that can kind of fill in that first mile, last mile gap, getting folks to the park and ride, whether that's in Redmond or Issaquah, or even just getting them to the bus stop for the 269 to take them there. So those were the two programs that I was specifically thinking about. And then, of course, on the wheel, if they hit the carpooling section, hey, how often do you carpool with your friends? Oh, not that often, then you should think about it. So some of it is the actual materials and some of it is just starting those conversations.
And 269 goes to Redmond,
Yes.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me recap. So there's gonna be two booths.
Mhm.
One's gonna be the solar east side. The heat pump people.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be manned by your counterpart from Issaquah.
Yes.
So who's gonna help that person? Are we gonna be helping him?
Yeah, so we may have an additional Energy Smart East Side staff member there, one of the program
Okay.
staff from City of Bellevue. And if not, we would see if there's an additional commissioner that could go over and help.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd have a problem doing the heat pumps, obviously.
Thank you for volunteering, Steve. You'll be my go-to
I knew Steve
guy.
would find a way to tear everything he thought.
That would be great, yeah. So I think having at least
Go
two
with your
people in
strength.
each
That's right.
booth, hopefully
that.
3 or 4 would be the ideal. Is anyone for sure that they are gonna be at Earth Day?
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
What time is it?
It's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on that Saturday, the 19th.
Same place.
Same place, yep.
Your kids can grab a lot of swag.
Yeah, right. No, unfortunately, we're gonna be driving back from California
Oh.
that day, from this is the end of spring break.
Mhm.
But I'll be driving up at my evening, so.
So all is well.
Perfect. And we will notice that as a potential quorum because we'll have council members
Yes.
there as well.
Did Mizan weigh in on that? Are you planning to attend Earth Day?
He's muted.
You might be on mute.
Mizan, can you hear us online? He may have, he let me know he was under the weather, so
Okay.
he might just be taking it easy today. But I will be sending as part of my
No,
follow-up.
no, I can hear, I was mute.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
I'm
good.
here.
Were you planning to attend Earth Day?
Um, I have a conflict on that day.
Okay, yeah, no worries at all. Having 4 commissioners is awesome. That
If my
is,
schedule changes, I'll let you know.
okay, perfect, thank you. Yeah, other than Earth Day, there are 2 other kind of things I wanted to put on everyone's radar that's coming up.
Can I say one more thing about this?
Please.
The other thing is if there's a way to encourage people to bring a reusable water bottle. Like if there's like, bring a reusable water bottle to enter our raffle for a hydro flask, or bring a reusable water bottle and you get some way to like encourage, so. Just another way, because there are students that don't have reusable water bottles, and I'd love for their parents to buy them, or maybe they could win one. But somehow, like, I don't know if that's a thing, like somehow have a filling station for anyone who brings their water bottle, or.
That'd be something else the city can do.
Yeah, instead of the food trucks offering bottle, plastic bottle and aluminum cans. To make it like, bring your water, and we'll give you an Earth Day sticker for your water bottles. That's the thing kids love.
Okay.
You can buy 350 for $7 on Amazon. Earth Day stickers,
Yeah.
I was like, that's a cheap water.
No, the stickers for the water bottle.
So our colleagues in parks are the ones who put Earth Day on, right? So we can take some of these ideas back to them,
Okay.
but they are in the middle of they're literally in that part of the season where they're
Yeah.
going up 30,000 feet really, really quick.
Okay.
So, but we'll definitely plant this for next year if
Okay.
we can't do anything this year.
Yeah, I love these ideas. While we, as Rachel said, may not be able to make them all happen right away. I'm getting them down. We'll keep them in the
Okay.
bank.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Earth Day, Arbor Day, booth materials, future considerations?
I think for those of us going to Earth Day, last year, we brought our commissioner.
Yeah.
Name badges, so think about that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. We just kind of showed up. We can decide, are we all gonna be there at 9 or are we gonna work in shifts or something? We talk about that in April.
But the whole event is only three hours, is it 11 to
Yeah.
2?
11
to
to 2,
2,
but
So.
folks sometimes show up a little bit earlier. You'll see kids walking around before and after.
Yeah.
Setup is typically at 10. It is chaos from 11 to 2.
If you're gonna drive there, go early because the parking is.
It's not very big,
It's
that
not
parking
great.
lot, yeah.
You'll have the people
Should
park
show
like
up
way
at
out
the
on the
community
side streets.
Or Metroplex.
Right,
Ride your bike.
Or even better, park at City Hall and carpool with your fellow commissioners.
Bark at my house and walk.
That's 4 in the car then.
Yeah, right, my bad.
Is that more problems?
Now there's 3 of you.
Well, if you're just chatting about whatever. Okay, great. So moving on really quickly to commissioner and staff reports. I'll give a couple reports, and then if any of you have anything to share, that would be the time. Firstly, we did have a couple questions this week, so if you're curious, go check out our question and answer matrix. Any future questions involving, including do food trucks at Earth Day use compostable materials? All of that, questions of that nature would go into the Q&A matrix. We typically don't go over these. It's just an FYI to check those out. We also did have a commissioner step down, David Thielen, our vice chair. He no longer has the time, completely okay. You all are volunteers, so we appreciate the time that you are able to give us. So we will be posting that vacancy in the coming weeks. Typically, there's a little bit of a delay because we want to make sure there's enough time for folks to apply, council to appoint a new member, and then we'll get them onboarded. And then at that time, we'll give everyone the opportunity to volunteer or nominate someone for vice chair. And then just a reminder about those upcoming events. Before we meet next in April, is the deadline for providing comments on our bike and pedestrian plan. There's an interactive map if you go onto the city website where you can leave points in the city and leave comments on some of the infrastructure. That deadline is March 21st, so we'd love to have commissioners. This would be you weighing in as a private citizen, not as a commissioner. And then we will actually have a transportation planning team member or public works team member coming to our May meeting to actually talk through the biped plan and get the more formal commission feedback. This is just an FYI for anyone online as well as you, that the public comment period is through March 21st.
Before you jump off of that,
Yes.
that May meeting, that one is, there's going to be probably gonna be more homework ahead of that than we typically have, because we're gonna want you to review the draft plan coming into the meeting to provide recommendations to staff on how it should potentially be changed, updated. Wow, this is fabulous. This doesn't go far enough. Woo, this might be a little too far, that kind of stuff. So I just want to plant that seed that.
Can we talk about that a little bit more? Because plans that the commission reviewed last year, we embedded comments into, the same.
Convio.
Yeah, is that, are you talking about that type of format?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. I was really more planting the seed that there's gonna be more
Okay.
homework.
So either we provide comments in advance or we discuss at the May meeting.
Just in order for those meetings to truly be fruitful, right? That's that part about being prepared, that we talked about in that one slide. And so that one is gonna be, that'll be a little more of a lift than, reading through the agenda that we have for tonight. So.
And
heads
we'll
up.
send out information ahead of
Yep.
time with clear instructions as well.
Yep.
And then the other thing is that heat pump workshop on March 26th. I believe some of you have already signed up. If
Yeah.
you're curious, please.
I didn't
Yep.
there was.
I will be there.
I signed
Oh,
up.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna show up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show up.
That's fine as well, but if you do get the opportunity to register online, that way we know kind of generally how many folks to expect. And then we can follow up after the fact if you register, because we'll have your emails to send you additional information. March 26th, 6:30 to 8 p.m., might go till 8:30, depending on how many questions there are. We will have an installer for heat pumps as well as an Energy Smart Eastside program staff member there to answer questions. Please tell your friends, please tell your HOA groups, please amplify the city's posts on Nextdoor, Facebook, and Instagram, so that gets the maximum reach possible. And that's all I've got. Opening the floor to anyone else as well.
I was in the bike pedestrian workshop and I thought it was really good. And it was super, you were there too, right? I saw you.
Yeah.
And I took a couple of those flyers and I posted them in public places around my neighborhood.
Perfect. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So who knows? And I told my neighbors at the bus stop, so hopefully we get a little bit more input.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I thought, with our 726 cul-de-sacs, I think that's the right number. I'm not sure.
It's about that, yeah.
Somehow they could connect those, not for cars, but for bikes and people. That would be great.
That's something we've been trying to work with
Yeah.
different HOAs on and things like
Because
that.
I think a lot of these cul-de-sacs are two cul-de-sacs with one of those little barriers that you can't drive through. But
The gates are a whole nother issue, Steve.
Yeah. I know,
So. But yeah, that's definitely, cause that is the biggest impediment to getting to transit is it's the walk shed, right? Because you may live actually, as the crow flies, pretty close to 228,
it's
but you can't get there without, going
Well-
all the way around the development.
to drive here is 2 miles, to walk here is 1.
Mhm.
So on a crowded street day, I can probably get here faster on foot.
Mhm.
Speaking of HOA, so I had my annual HOA meeting last week, so I sent my HOA some information in advance, the city does have a sustainability commission, there's a climate action plan with the links to all that, and one thing that we're working on in our neighborhood, we've got a long entryway with a lot of trees, and a lot of them have died, and so, we're looking at replanting them, so, I mentioned too, whatever sub-team is working on this, there is an urban forest management plan. Let's be smart about this, and because the city studied what types of trees actually survive well in our area. And let's not, go ahead with a tree planting campaign and we got to do it again in 10 years, and so hopefully they'll take that to heart. Our board is switching over, so there'll be a new group that'll be working on that.
You should look at our right-of-way tree study, which Rose just completed, which it focused on city-owned right-of-way trees. But that would be the roadmap for your HOA, basically. It would tell you what kind of trees to plant and how to plant them
And how to maintain.
and how to maintain them.
Okay.
So,
Is that in the sustainable Sammamish guide?
No, it's not in the Sustainable Sammamish Guide. It's an internal document that was presented to council and is publicly available, but it was specifically looking at city assets.
Okay.
So I can absolutely share that link with you all.
but you could absolutely just lift everything in there and it would apply to your right-of-way,
Yeah.
right-of-way HOA maintain
On the
trees.
civic web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be with the February 11th council packet, but I will send that out as an
Oh,
email
Great, thank you.
link as well.
You can find it.
But I
February.
didn't have a specific slot. I know we developed talking points for HOAs. Did we finalize those?
And a presentation.
We did, okay.
Yeah,
But
I just need to get it.
okay, all right.
Yeah, actually, because I did have a question, and let me see if I can express this properly. So we were talking about the ambassador program, and then part of it was talking about how to plant your yard in a sustainable way, but I know some HOAs have certain guidelines that make you have to use grass. I know some of them are changing. I think the one in my neighborhood changed, so you can now plant native plants instead of just grass, which uses a lot of water. Is there a way, or has anybody, I know HOAs are not part of the city and they're independent and they do what they want. Is there any kind of structural? Has anybody looked at what the HOAs are doing, or I know there was some communication or some talking points to the HOAs, or, yeah. So, if the ambassadors are gonna go out there, for example, and say, hey, yay, mom, and dad, can you change the yard and make it more sustainable, is that even allowed in everybody's HOA?
No.
Yeah,
And we can't,
we can't do anything
we
about
can't do
that,
anything about
but
that, but we
it's just an
can,
education.
right, it's just education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and yeah, so they're focusing mostly on education and then best practices, whether folks choose to use all of them or some of them, they would need to align it with the HOAs. And HOAs are always welcome to reach out to the city for resources as well.
So, Rose, this is Mizan. So how is the sustainable Sammamish? Does the people in Sammamish, how they will know about it? Because if I was not in the member of the sustainability committee, I would not know about what is.
Yeah, great question. The Sustainable Sammamish Guide was mailed out in September to every household in the city. So the same way that every household receives the city newsletter every other month, we are going to be doing yearly mailings of the Sustainable Sammamish Guide. It takes obviously a lot of resources and paper to mail it out to every city, so that's why we're doing it once a year. And then we're also gonna have it available at all of our farmers market tabling events. We have it available on the city website, and occasionally our social media posts will link to it. As well as that city newsletter every other month, we've linked it in there as well. So it's something that we're working to use as an outreach tool and continue to spread the word on it. But every household should have received a copy in September as well.
Yeah, and.
And it's available on the city website.
No, thank you, I think good effort. And do we have as a city that, do we track that our volume of trash as well as opposed to our compost? Whether we are increasing the compost volume over time or not?
So we do receive our solid waste kind of annual report from Republic Services, the city's solid waste hauler. It shows general diversion rates, but it doesn't show like specific tonnage of compost because our hauler goes to regional landfills. So we have our diversion rates, but we don't have the specific tonnage,
Okay,
if that makes
thank you.
sense.
I
Yeah.
think there is probably room for improvement for all the,
Yes.
people in there, because even my home, I have trying to do more composting and see that most of the household stuff we have, if it is not plastic or anything, a lot of things can go to really composting. Your food waste, your, vegetables, your, all these things can go. And then in that case, you can reduce your, the main garbage really significantly. So that's another way that there is room for improvements. I do go to the community, like there is like dinner for 400, 500 people per night. And we are doing like composting, like, all the utensils we are buying with pepper that we can compost. And then we have volunteers dedicated that will guide people where to put what. And then reducing the amount of, the garbage significantly. And we are increasing the composting. This is in spirit of the Earth Day and all these things we're talking about. So I think as a city, we can probably improve on our volume on compost as opposed to the garbage.
I think that's a great example, especially if as you're thinking about like Earth Day and some of the other events that are coming up, right? Like you find a thing or two in the Sammamish guide, the Sustainable Sammamish Guide that speaks to you, right? You don't need more talking points than that, right? When you're talking to your neighbors, right? Just like you were saying, Izan, right? Like, let me talk to you about composting and what I'm doing in my own household, right? So none of us need to be experts on all things sustainable and Sammamish and that sort of thing. Find the part that speaks to you. I know that there was this group was interested really in, native plants and drought tolerant plants and stuff like that. So just find those couple of things in the Sustainable Sammamish Guide.
Yeah.
And that's what you'll do. You'll spend the whole time talking to your neighbors and,
Yes.
asking little kids if they know that pizza boxes can go into the compost, and those are fun conversations.
PFAS-free pizza boxes, yes.
Yes. What
Um,
did you say?
PFAS-free,
Is that on the pizza box?
it's not.
Oh.
And so, yeah,
Ours go in the compost at school.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
Does it say on there?
Yeah,
Mm,
that's what I.
I'm not sure.
It
PFAS
must
chemicals
say.
were used to, so like there's a lot of oil in pizza, right? So
Mhm.
if the cardboard didn't have this material that prevented the oil from leaking
Oh.
through, it would just soak through. So they work great in that regard for like food and stain resistance, but they're problematic when they get in the environment.
We must be sick free from that because
Yeah.
we don't.
Well, hopefully, I mean, there've been bans in various states on those types of chemicals, so I
Right.
don't know where Washington is, but they've been progressive.
Mhm.
But I had just a quick go back, you mentioned like, plastic bottles, right? So, one thing I've talked to a few of my neighbors about, the drinking out of plastic bottles, well, it's no big deal, it's recyclable, I put it in a recyclable container. Well, actually, like only 6% of plastic is actually recycled in the United States, so most of the plastic bottles that we use, they wind up in landfills. I don't think a lot of people understand that. There's not been a lot of communication, and I think, we used to send a lot of our recycling overseas, and I think those countries are starting to refuse to accept it, so even more is going in the landfill. So even better idea to have
Mhm.
a water bottle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in respect to the water bottles, we are also doing the same thing in the community, like, we used to give like, every night, like 400-500 bottles of waters. And there was a lot of wastage, not only the plastics, but a lot of like people will just drink the half of it and then just leave it, things like that. So this year, what we did is no plastic bottles. So we are giving them water, but giving them, they can bring their own bottles, reusable bottles, not the plastic bottles.
Mhm.
An emerging problem is, go ahead.
Yeah, every 7 seconds, one child dies in the world due to lack of clean drinking water.
Mhm.
Okay, every 7 seconds. So when I see that all these 500 bottles half done, all the water we are throwing, it breaks my heart, essentially.
Mhm.
I made an appeal to the community that don't do this. Like, please bring your water bottle. We are providing you the water. Okay. So that is, I think that I see a lot of change in people's mindset, which is very positive, and they're okay with that. Nobody protested that why you are not giving a bottle water. Everybody's trying to comply.
I think Mizan and I work in the same industry, but generally, we have an awareness of what chemicals are coming that could get in the environment that cause issues for human health, the environment. Actually, microplastics are really starting to emerge on the scene, and plastic bottles, other materials, when they break down in really microscopic size, they wind up in our water supply and our food supply. We probably all have microplastics in our body, and so our industry is trying to figure out how do we get microplastics out of the environment, and it's not easy.
Mhm.
We try to take drinking water, especially the drinking water that is just purified, is worse than our tap water.
It's worse.
Than our tap water, that
Oh.
is in the home water, that in the home we filter it, we don't drink it directly, but that treated water, bottles that we buy from the stores, if it is not mineral water or the natural, it is not good. It is worse than, it is not better than our tap water.
So like schools have refilling stations. Do the city have that around? Like kids fill their water bottles on these refilling stations. Does the city have that all around? Like
We have them in the back for public, for private use for staff. We don't really have.
No, I meant like at, Beaver Lake, can kids fill their water bottle? Can they?
I don't know. We'd have to
Okay.
look into that.
Yeah, I don't think we do, but
Okay.
food for thought.
They're out there though. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I live in Atlanta.
It makes it
Couple weekends
easy
ago,
to
and they
use
had
it.
'em.
Your airport.
Yeah, airports have them
Yeah.
all over.
I suggest, next time you revise this.
Yeah.
Get our sustainability, stewards to write a little blurb in here on how to compost. It's not just dump stuff in a bin. You gotta do it correctly for it to generate enough heat for stuff to break down.
Just
And
dump it in.
ideally, you should have what,
Big
3
green bin
bins?
with it.
The yard waste.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
suggestion, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be taking a look at the Sustainable Sammamish
Yeah.
Guide. If not this summer, then next summer. We're trying to renew it every 1 to 2 years. Because technology is always changing, best practices are always changing, and we want to be able to incorporate some little community notes, whether that's coming from community members, at Earth Day, or some of your stewards or commissioners. Hearing it from your neighbors, as we all know, is impactful. So. Thank you. Steve.
So, Rose, in the art day or those days, are we giving people anything? Is there anything giveaway?
Yeah, so the Sustainability Commission booth, currently we have wildflower seeds, so pollinator packets, and we'll be handing those out as prizes for answering a question from the sustainability wheel. And I'm also gonna look into getting some kind of a sustainable transportation giveaway, maybe that's stickers, hopefully it's Orca cards for youth, especially since we have such a youth presence. And then the Sammamish stewards will be handing out live native plant species.
Okay, I was thinking, is it possible that to consider, if not this year, maybe next year, giving composting bags. Because you know, when you do the domestic composting, you need a special bag for composting.
Compostable bags, something to
Yeah.
consider, thank you.
That those are the because you cannot put the plastic bag in the compost, you know, so you need to put together in your compost in a compost friendly bag that is compostable.
Thank you.
But your compost bin's gotta work for that compostable bag to break down.
But I think he's talking about for Republic,
Yeah.
right?
That's where I do my composting.
Yeah,
That's where I do my
I'll probably
composting.
ask Republic's.
Republic.
Yeah, dump it in the yard waste bin
right,
and let them
Yep.
take it away.
yep. And there's a lot more that can be.
Yeah, like all the.
Done.
Yeah,
That- right, all that
these
stuff.
bags are small, it's like 3 gallon bag, no, not three, yeah, very small bags, you know, that you can, in a small cart, you can put your all the domestic compost,
Yep.
then put into the bigger bin that we have outside.
So the only other thing I can think of is somebody could figure out how to make a bear-proof compost bin. I'm all for it.
Yeah. There's snow when it's garbage day too.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's the agenda.
I think we've gotten through everything. Oh, yeah, the long-term calendar, do we need to look at that?
There isn't much that's been added
No.
on there, other than the heads up about the bike and pedestrian plan coming in May, and then the request to flush out Earth Day a little bit more in April, so we'll add both of those to the agenda, and we'll see you all next month.
Oh, do we have to actually make a motion to adjourn, or are we good?
I motion to adjourn.
All right, did anybody second
So I'll
it? Okay, 20 minutes early.
Great.